Welcome to Taiwan Talk. I'm Sheree Felice, and this week I'm speaking with cartographer Tom Rook, who hand draws his own maps of different cities in Taiwan. So, welcome to Taiwan Talk. I'm here with cartographer Tom Rook. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So, for our listeners who don't know much about cartography or what the profession is, can you explain to them a bit before you get into exactly what you do specifically for the profession?
Yeah. So cartography is just a fancy name for map making, really. And it can be any form of map, anything from just the regular top-down sort of thing you see to the kind of full 3D kind of drawings that I make.
Okay.
I'd say I'm not purely cartography. It sort of goes more into the art side of things, but there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of things you do, and one of the most amazing things that I think is that every one of your maps has very detailed hand-drawn versions of different cities in Taiwan. Mm-hmm. So you can see the buildings, you can see the street roads, and it's incredible. Do you do any in color?
Not very often. Some of them have been coloured, usually not by me. I find by the time I finished one piece, and I've usually spent like a few months working on one of these, that I just want to get straight into the next one and start exploring new places, start recording some new stuff. And the thought of spending another couple of months colouring one I've already finished, it doesn't appeal to me as much. So I haven't coloured all that many.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, they're so detailed. How long does it take you to make one?
Anywhere from maybe a couple of months for the sort of smaller ones. Maybe a month for the very smallest. I remember a couple of them have taken a good 6 months or so to do.
Wow.
Like the one of Taipei, that was drawn over the course of a year, but I think if I condensed all that time, it was about 6 months.
And how big is big? Talking about
like 1 meter 50 something. Some of them are almost 2 meters.
Oh my God.
They're huge, yeah.
And what do you specifically try to include? Do you take a Google image map and try to include everything on it? Or are there specific things that you disclude, like animals or people or, just everyday life or like little cart restaurants on the road and stuff like that? How do you choose what you're going to include in your maps?
I try and include like as much as I can. When something's excluded, it's usually just due to scale.
Okay.
So like some of the smaller maps that are a bit closer, a little bit more detailed, those have people in, those have animals in, those have like dogs that have chased me, that kind of thing.
Oh, really?
I'll stick like a lot of things that I experienced in the area into those.
Okay.
When you get one like the Taipei one or the Hsinchu one or something, they're so far back that the people would just be little like kind of just dots.
Yeah, exactly.
The trees would just look like kind of lollipops, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, like larger ones don't tend to have those smaller details on, but yeah, I've put like night markets and stuff on the ones that are more of a detailed area.
Okay, so cartography is a very interesting profession to get in, and combining cartography with artistry is a very, I would say, niche profession to get involved in. What made you interested in doing this, and what put the idea in your head that was like, I'm going to hand draw maps of different cities in Taiwan to scale and include, very detailed buildings?
It was kind of something I've always done ever since childhood. I mean, this was going on before I moved to Taiwan as well.
Okay.
I've drawn like Nottingham, where I went to university as well.
Oh, okay.
So I spent most of my childhood drawing various different things. A lot of the time it would be drawing kind of large worlds or something, being a kind of fantasy nerd or so. It just was a sort of natural progression. And then when I started to draw, it was like a feeling of connection was developed, I guess you could say, with sort of the world around me.
Okay.
I kind of started to draw more places in Taiwan just because I was new to Taiwan and I didn't know the country very well.
Right.
And it was a really great way of both exploring it and kind of like recording my time here as well.
How long have you been living in Taiwan?
I arrived in late 2010. I think,
Okay.
Yeah, November 2010.
And what made you decide Taiwan?
I decided already that I didn't want to stay in England after graduation.
Why?
I'm from quite a small town. It was a choice of either move to London or stay in that town.
Okay.
And neither. I love my hometown, but I mean, to grow up there, it was too familiar. I wanted something a bit new.
Okay.
And I'd gone to Deer for a couple of months while in my second year of university, and I met some people who had been in Taiwan, and I met someone who was going to Taiwan.
Okay.
And I that put Taiwan on the map.
Right.
And I spent the last year thinking, I'd like to go overseas. Taiwan actually is looking pretty cool. I had this big list of countries drawn up, and eventually all of them were crossed off and Taiwan was left.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about Taiwan. You meet a lot of people who literally know nothing about it, who think when you say you're from Taiwan, they say, oh, I love Thai food and stuff like that.
Right.
They literally know nothing about it. And then they take one visit, and it's like after 1 week of visiting, they move here for the rest of their lives. It's like the weirdest phenomenon ever.
I've met quite a few people like that. Also quite a few friends who've moved away from Taiwan and then just come back
immediately.
2 years later.
Yeah. I know, exactly. So have you made any other maps besides cities in Taiwan?
There's a few that are more of like a specific area. So maybe like one of the small villages, like the military communities. Also, actually, we're kind of close to it here. Losheng EUN, Losheng Sanatorium, which is just on the end of the Xinzhuang line.
Yeah.
That's an old leprosy sanatorium.
Yeah.
And I spent a sort of afternoon there and just found it so interesting that I was like, oh, I have to draw this place too. That's kind of how I end up starting to draw somewhere. I just find it interesting enough that eventually I can't not draw it. It's almost like possibly an obsession, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
are you thinking of drawing anything outside of Taiwan? Like, for example, I would be really interested in seeing what Hong Kong looked like 50 years ago or 100 years ago when the British first came and it was like a fishing village, to now it's like a booming economic zone. Yeah. And the same with the mega cities in China. I know that you also, in addition to drawing modern maps, you also draw maps from history. Mm-hmm. And I find that the most interesting part of your profession.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's amazing to see what Taiwan looked like in the 1940s, the 1920s, and how it has changed to now. It's incredible. And what made you decide that you were going to look into history and not just draw modern maps and go look back in time and see how the times have changed?
I think I had the same reaction as you in that I saw some pictures of old Taiwan, old Taipei, and I couldn't believe how much it had changed. And I was like, there are fragments of that city left. A few of the older buildings are still there.
Right.
But largely it's completely different.
Yeah.
So I thought that was incredibly interesting, and I was kind of looking into the reasons why it had changed, like the bombing in the war, the arrival of the nationalist soldiers, what different things had shaped the city.
Right.
And I kind of started to piece together in my head, like, how would this look if I drew it? And then that ended up me sort of finding thousands of old photos and old maps and stuff and drawing from that. It's funny you mentioned Hong Kong, because I almost did the same thing with Hong Kong.
Okay.
And I had everything. I had it even sort of measured out, actually, and I still have a few hundred old photos of Hong Kong I gathered for this project.
Yeah.
But like many things, there's only so much I can do in a day, and that one's on hold until I've just got so much to do in Taiwan at the moment.
Well, if people want to check out more of your work and potentially want to buy a map or see exactly what your maps look like, where can they check them out and where can they purchase them?
Okay. I have like an Instagram that's just Tom Rook Art.
Okay.
And I seem to be sort of most active on there, like as far as like videos of the drawing process and, the Instagram story thing, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page with the same name as well. And then I have a website called overthecity.asia that is a kind of gallery of everything as well.
Okay.
And that's got some links to like shop websites on there as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining the show, and I think everybody who is listening right now should check them out because the detail that Tom puts into these maps are unbelievable. So thank you, Tom, for joining me.
Thanks so
It's
much.
been
Thanks
a
for having
pleasure
me.
speaking with you.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's episode of Taiwan Talk. I'd like to thank Tom again for joining me. And if you'd like to check out more of Tom's work, head to www.overthecity.asia or find him on Instagram or Facebook. Don't forget to tune in next week for an all-new episode. And as always, remember to take care of yourselves. I'm Sheree Felice.